Aztecs of San Diego State were 4-8 last year in Brad Hoke's first year as head coach. He comes over from Ball State. Remember how good they were a couple years ago. But he's trying to get this program back to a bowl. Last time they were in a bowl was 1998, and he's got a good man to build around. It's quarterback Ryan Lindley. 4 returning starters on the offensive line. He's got Ron Hillman, a true freshman, and Walter KZ to help out that run game that averaged under 3 yards per carry. But DeMarco Sampson, Vincent Brown, and Dominique Sadler will be Lindley's best targets this year.
And I want you guys to keep an eye on the JUCO linemen, Unga and Gao. They can make an impact. That's going to be important because the O-line returns 3 starters, but those 2 guys, those JUCO guys, are going to have to come in and step up big. And keep an eye on the, DeMarco Sampson. Everybody wants to talk about Antonio Brown. He's a tremendous talent, don't get me wrong. But Sampson is another guy that catches the eye on film. He always makes big plays, wiry guy, and also has great hands. And I'm interested to see Ryan Hillman this year, freshman running back. He had some academic issues last season, was hurt. But this year he's going to be a starter as a freshman, as a redshirt freshman. So it's going to be impressive to see him play.
And everybody knows Brian Urlacher. Defensive coordinator Rocky Long is in his 2nd year. He came over from New Mexico. Loves to play that 3-3-5 system. They need more takeaways though. Defensive line was hit with injuries last year, but they returned all 3 starters. Miles Burris, 1 linebacker, Rover Andrew Preston, and free safety Brandon Davis man that 5-man secondary.
Yeah, Andrew Preston plays that Aztec position, which is in that defense. So he's going to come in. Expect him to make all conference because he's going to be on the field a lot, roving around, making a lot of plays. So expect him to make all conference. I like Preston a lot. Also, they can't give up the big play defensively. That hurt those guys a lot. They were in a lot of shootouts. You can't give up plays behind your head if you're in the secondary, and you got to make sure you sure tackle if you're up front in the front 7, because otherwise it could be a long day for the defense. And Ernie Lawson and B.J. Williams, they must do their job up front in order to ensure that big plays in the run game don't happen.
The Horned Frogs of TCU finished 12-1 last year after a loss to Boise in the Fiesta Bowl. Gary Patterson, last 5 years, 11+ wins for this coach. Andy Dalton looked great all season until that Fiesta Bowl. Matt Tucker comes back as a running back, over almost 6.5 yards per carry. And I love their trio of receivers. Jeremy Curley, the small guy who can take it the distance. Jimmy Young, he's also good. And a deep guy, Antoine Hicks, to play a little more consistent. Makes them Dalton a great trio. Up front, Jake Kirkpatrick, the center. Left tackle, Marcus Cannon, returns with 4 starters. So they're all league players right there. Offense looks pretty good for the Horned Frogs again. Look
for Hicks to take off this year. Talented wide receiver, he moves his position to the more playmaking spot. So expect him to take off this year tremendously. You also talked about running back. 6 yards a carry is impressive. I don't care who you are, where you play. Tucker is going to be a star this year. And also the offensive line is going to be, it's the best offensive line in the conference, I think, led by Marcus Cannon, the left tackle, guy that's 6'5", 330. Big mammoth tackle, so you have the best offensive line. Your offense is going to be solid.
And the Frogs like to go with that defense, of course, which is a 4-2-5, and this is where they built their tradition. Great players like Jerry Hughes coming out. Defense, first in yards per game last year, under 240 yards per game, and 12 first downs per game they were giving up. That was also great. Tank Carter, this linebacker, does everything in that 2-linebacker system. Wayne Daniels, defensive end, free safety T.J. Johnson. This is a BCS defense in the Mountain West.
Well, and one thing, the question I have is, can Wayne Daniels raise his level up to Hughes type production? If they can get that level of play out of Daniels, that's going to be huge for that defense, so they won't miss a step. Also, look at the secondary. You look at, keep an eye on true freshman Travaris Battle Smith, a guy that's going to come in and play right away, aggressive style defense. So they're going to ask this young guy to step up and play huge in that secondary.
The Rebels of UNLV made a coaching change after their 5-7 2009, and they bring in Bobby Hawk, formerly of Montana, who built a great tradition in FCS last year. Omar Clayton, a quarterback, will be playing behind 4 out of the 5 returning starters, 3 seniors. Channing Trotter, the running back, over 4.5 yards per carry. Phil Payne and Mike Johnson are his receivers.
Well, I look at Omar Clayton, number 1. He has to cut down on the interceptions and raise his level of play. That's the biggest thing. If he can cut down on the mistakes and bring his level of play up to where he can play his potential warrants, then they're going to be fine. Very solid offensive line. And you look at running back, I think C.J. Cox is going to be the starter. I like him as a starter over everyone else. He should flourish in that spread offense that Hawk likes to run. If you look at Chase Reynolds, outstanding running back for Montana, great production out that same offense. So look for Cox, CJ Cox to have a big year this year offensively.
Well, like all these other sub 500 teams, this team got gashed through the ground, giving him 5.7 yards per carry. Craig Paulson really needs to stop that first and foremost. Cornerback Quentin Pointer is a great secondary player, and linebacker Star Fuima Ono and Ron Paulo need to really get that front seven stifling.
Yeah, because if that front seven doesn't show up, then the secondary, which is weak, is going to get exposed. That's one of the weak spots of that team. You look at defensive tackle, though, I'm going to get it right, Asayako Ayatui, 6'3", 300 pounds, a pro prospect out of UNLV. The guy can move the pocket, push the pile, and stuff the run behind the line of scrimmage. They need him to step up huge, but they also need those defensive ends to show up big this year and show themselves in the game. Because it's almost like when you watch UNLV play, they're out there with eight defensive players and not 11, you know, like you're supposed to have. But they have to step up big. But I do like Ayatui to come in and provide that stout run defense.
Utah coming off another double-digit win season. Last 3 years for Kyle Whittingham, 9, 13, and 10 wins. He's entering his 6th year. They're ranked almost throughout the whole season besides week 4 and 5 last year. Jordan Wynn really coming on. He's now a sophomore. They've given him the reins, but they still have Terrence Kane, who started the first 8 games last year. Eddie Wide broke out as running back when Matt Asiata, who's a banger, and he'll be back this year to back up Wide. Jeremy Brooks is their wide receiver, but it all starts up front with 2 seniors, center Zane Taylor and Caleb Schlotterhoff.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 starters return on that offensive line, so the offensive line is going to be solid. That was a good move last year, throwing Jordan Wynn into the fray, because now you have 2 solid quarterbacks. He has more potential because he's a younger guy, so that's going to be cool to see him back there running that offense as well. And if push comes to shove, you turn around hands to Eddie Wide and also Matt Asiata, a guy that can play a little wildcat quarterback for you in a pinch. And so you got those 2 guys, 2 running backs that complement each other. That offensive firepower should be explosive again in Utah.
Well, defensive lineman James Iono, junior college transfer, will join defensive tackles Silver Silaga and Dave Kruger up front, and no starting experience at linebacker or DB, but cornerback Brandon Burton. He was the only guy who started last year in the secondary, 10 pass breakups. Yeah. So that'll be vital for the Utes.
Because you look at Brandon Burton and also you look at the other cornerback, Lance Chapman, those guys can't lose any battles on the field because they play an aggressive one-on-one man style defense. So if you get beat, then it's a touchdown. So those are tremendous, talented players. They have to make sure they play week in, week out. Also, look at the new starters that they have on defense. They have 3 starters returning, so you have a influx of new talent, 7 new starters. Will they prove to be better against the run? Because that's what killed these guys last year. They couldn't stop the run at times. So can those new starters help the run defense get better?